Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the I Am Transformed show, where we interview real people with real life transformations. If your own fears and insecurities are hindering you from pursuing your dreams, well, guess what? The wait is over. When you can change your mindset, you can change your life. Go after that life that you desire and deserve. I am your host, Veronica Outlaw, and I am here to help you proclaim I am transformed. Let's hit that share button so we can share this blessing with as many as we can. Today we have with us Miss Roxanne Wilkening, and I know the title is misleading, Shedding the Weight. Well, we're here discussing more than just weight loss. Roxanne is here to discuss the different types of weight that we carry and how her as a wellness coach can help you bring balance to and coach you out of bondage in your entire life, whether it's with physical, social, spiritual, environmental, emotional, and in spending. Roxanne has earned a certification as a wellness coach. She also has a master's in education and has owned a Curves franchise for 6 years. Roxanne has a true heart to help people achieve transformation through her life experiences, but more recently, she's been able to accomplish this through her very own podcast, Shedding the Weight. The mission of her podcast is to expose things in our lives that are weighing us down and preventing us from becoming the person that we always have dreamed of becoming. Miss Roxanne, how are you, my dear?
Hi there. Hi there, Miss Veronica, or Dr. Veronica. How are you doing today?
Just call me Veronica. You're a friend of mine. I am awesome. How are you?
You know, it's been a great day. I'm so excited to be a part of your show. Thank you for having me on. So it's been a good day. I'm just getting myself ready to just share and hopefully help people shed some weight.
Absolutely. Well, I ran into your podcast. I can't remember how I ran across you on Facebook, but I binge listened to, I think at the time you had 6 or 7, maybe 8 episodes, and I've been watched them, and I have been following you ever since. You are an absolute delight to watch and to listen to, and so I had to get you on the show.
Well, thank you. It's a new journey, and so I have just recently started, but I have absolutely loved the journey. I'm learning a lot, I'm growing a lot, and I'm also shedding some weight because it is about my stories. And so it's just allowing me to share with people to step outside their comfort zone and shed some weight of fear, insecurities, just vulnerability. And so thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to dive right into it because we have a lot to unpack. I want you to cover all of the areas in your framework for shedding the weight. But first, let's talk about who Roxanne is. Who is Roxanne?
Okay, so Roxanne, who am I? Oh, you know what? Sometimes on different days, I'm different things. I am married. I've been married to my husband for 10 years. This is actually my second marriage. And it's a part of also my journey of shedding weight because you do have some baggage or some insecurities when you're going into a second marriage. And so Rick and I will be married. As a matter of fact, 10 years, we celebrate our 10 years in this month, January the 24th. So I'm married. I have no children. I'm 58 years old. I have one. I'm a fur mommy. So I have a little dog, or she's a big girl. Her name is Bear. She's a lab mix. She is a rescue dog. And I tell you, I never realized how much I love animals. This is like, she's my baby. I can't even imagine having a child because I'm telling you, I love Bear. So she is my heart. So I do have a dog. I just recently, I would say in the past 2 years, when I say recent, moved back to my home area, the LaPorte area. I live in a small town called Kingsford Heights, Indiana. And I moved back to be a support to my family, my mother and father. In the past 5-6 years, my mother went through a major health scare. And then my dad was here. It's just a lot of work. My sister lives in the area. But just to be able to support each other, I decided, me and my husband and my dog, to move back to the area. the great thing about where they are, they live on 5 acres, and we have a lot of room for Bear to run and a lot of opportunity for me to develop. A part of my dream is before Corona happened, we was going to have potentially a wellness center to help people come in and just be able to just grow and get back to nature. So we'll see how that goes with Corona, of how much development that would have. So I have 2 sisters, Sheila and Stephanie. They're my rock. Sheila's birthday is Sunday, so I joke with her. I said, "Oh my gosh, Sheila, you're gonna be 60." Then I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I'm gonna be 60 next year." Just not realizing, time has definitely just flew by, and but we appreciate every day God gives us an opportunity to be on this side of earth and to share with people and grow and develop. A little background about myself. My background is telecommunications. I was in the telecom area for a background for about 16 years. I started working in software development. I did that for about another 6 or 7 years. I probably say 6 or 7 years. I don't know. It's a little time kind of blends. And
Yeah.
took a couple years off and went and decided to open up a Courage franchise. And I did my Courage franchise for almost 6 years. I do have a master's in education, but I have not formally taught. I've just used my background in life, in managing people and working with different organizations. I use that educational background to just facilitate my growth. I'm now working in retail. I chose to get out of the Courage franchise. And at the time I got out of Courage, and then I got married, and retail fit my life. And so I've been in retail now, I can't even believe it, 12 years. So I've been in a retail environment for about the last 12 years, which gives me an opportunity to really meet a lot of people, to really just, I don't know, you see a lot. You see a lot, and when you're in the service industry. So I'm doing that now. I'm also looking right now just to see how my podcast, because my podcast got birthed out of all these different telecommunications, owning my curves, moving back with my family, and understanding that life happens to a lot of people, and a lot of things was happening to me. And so I said, well, you know what? Let me tell my story. So I don't know if that helps, but that's my story.
Well, it actually does, because my next question was going to be, what was actually your transformation story leading into how shedding the weight was birthed?
It's so ironic. I have wanted to do something. I should say not all my life, my adult life. I think the first seed that really sparked me was when I first started my management position at GTE, now it's Verizon. But when I first started my management position, my first interview, Steve Krause, he asked me this question, and it has been, at the back of my head, or been a question that has kind of led me for many years. He said, if you had to write your own eulogy, what would you say? And I said, well, I want to know that I've helped someone. And I told him, I said, I want to know that my life has made a difference. And so I really have been trying to kind of live out that question. I've tried different things. My parents we've owned a business. We've had a gas station, convenience store, and I've looked into entrepreneurship and what I really wanted to, what do you really want to do when you grow up, Roxanne? And so, so I have done just different things. I started this blog. I got another blog that I started, and to be honest, writing, I am a good creative writer. I have the story. I have the idea, but structurally, cannot make a complete sentence. It's just not my strong area. And so I just was looking just to see what I can do, being back in a small community, what's going to entertain me in the Midwest on snow days. And also, like a lot of women, I've gained some extra weight, more than extra weight. I've gained a couple pounds, And so I was doing some research and I found intermittent fasting. And so I'm like, I can do that. It was actually, I was on at a Facebook group, a girl mentioned about it. I had tried it several years back. And so I decided to get into intermittent fasting, and we'll talk about that later. But I'm the type of person, when I get into something, I get all the books, I do all the Google searches. I do a lot of kind of background. And I ran into a podcast that I really enjoyed. It was with Jen Stevens. And so I listened to her podcast, and then subsequently she interviewed another young lady who had a podcast, and her podcast, when I listened to it, they were like 10 to 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, I can do that. I know I can talk for 15 minutes. I can do that. So I said, you know what? I love sharing. I love telling my story. I don't have to write. I think I want to try this. And so I tried it, and I'm like, as a matter of fact, let me back up. A couple of years back, because I do enjoy public speaking, and I, enjoy trying to give an inspirational story to help motivate people, I had joined Toastmasters. And actually, that's kind of how the whole wellness journey started. I got into to Toastmasters. I met a young lady, Tracy Brooks. I did a coaching session with Tracy. From that coaching session, I fell in love with the whole wellness piece. And then I went and got a certificate in wellness coaching. So life is a journey. And so I've gathered different pieces along the way. And so the whole podcast came out of me listening to someone else and saying, I'm going to try that. And so here I am trying that. And how I ran into you, I'm online again, and somehow your name came up. I clicked onto it, and it's like, I know it was just an answer to a prayer. God just really connected us together. We're sharing some of the same journeys. And that's how the podcast started. So it's through a combination of different series of steps in my life. And I'm so glad I'm here. It's been a challenge. Podcasting doesn't come easy. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and a lot of background stuff, and I'm learning. And so that's my story of how I got here and how I kind of transformed.
Right.
Or tried to transform.
Exactly. So your podcast is Shedding the Weight. And like I said in your intro, the framework goes beyond losing the weight, the physical weight. You talk about losing the weight or the bondage physically, socially, spiritually, environmentally, emotionally, and financially. So let's break down each of those components, starting with the physical, so that we can dive into the intermittent fasting. So what is the physical shedding the weight about?
Well, the physical is all about, it is about your body, your physical shape of your body. And, how are you going to incorporate physical activity? How do you, let me back up here. I did wellness coaching, and wellness coaching incorporates a lot of, it's bringing balance to your life, because we're not just about our weight, or we're just not about our spiritual. It's not about where we work. It's a combination of everything. It's balance with everything. And so you have to look at, how are you going to keep your real world rolling? So the physical says, how are you going to maintain a balanced life? Now, what's balanced for me and what's balanced for you is different when it comes to my physical. You want to make sure that you're looking at your physical being and saying, are you healthy? Are you getting your 10,000 steps in? Are you, when you do work out, do you incorporate warms up? I ask a series of questions. I ask, when I have clients, it says, do you do strength training? Do you do aerobic training? Do you warm up? Do you cool down? Do you drink water? How is your diet? Is it a healthy diet? Do you practice being a vegan? Do you practice being a vegetarian? Are you carbs? What is it that's working for you? Now, as a coach, I don't tell you what to do. You have to identify what works best for you, because we are all different. Now, I found through this journey that, even through my Curves background, I love activity. I love being out there. I love running. I love sports. And so I like to be active. And I've been a vegetarian. Well, I was a vegetarian at one time in my life, about 2 years. So I love eating healthy. I incorporated a lot of eating healthy. But here recently, the intermittent fasting resonated with me is because I wanted to connect my spiritual relationship, which we'll get to, and then my physical. And I feel like the bondage for me of weight was holding me back. And then the bondage is just food. You know, when you eat heavy laden food, it brings you down and you just can't, you can't operate at an optimum level. And so I started intermittent fasting to be able to have some spiritual contact with downtime, to be able to hear God, as well as be able to give my body a rest. And so you can do anywhere from like a 16-8. So myself, my minimum fasting is I don't eat past 7 o'clock. And I normally don't start eating till about 1. So during that fasting period is when I do drink water or black tea or any non-sweetened tea. But the whole physical aspect is, how do you feel in your body? And is your body healthy? Are you free of medications? Are you sleeping well? Are you, are you moving well? So it's all about the movement.
And I'm glad you said that because like Sarah just mentioned, yes, let's not compare ourselves to other people. Everybody's health and wellness journey is different. Mm-hmm. And I resonated with that because for so many years, I struggled too, trying to do what John and Susie would do, and it just didn't work for me. I found out this past June, I wasn't feeling good, went to the doctor. Long story short, cholesterol was super high. The doctor immediately wanted to put me on medication, and I saw my life flash before my eyes, and I said that no way. Mm-hmm. There was no way I was going to medicate myself for something that could be reversed and or prevented. Right. And so we bargained with me making some changes to get that cholesterol down. And as a result of that, I lost about 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then what happened for me was I went through a detox. I stuck to that. I took meat and sugars off the table. The detox was for 21 days. I incorporated exercise. After I noticed how good I was feeling, then I kept meat off the table.
Right.
So I don't know if I want to call myself vegan or vegetarian or whole food plant-based, but I found out when I was calling myself vegan, you really couldn't be vegan if you, for example, ate cheese or drank milk. So there was a lot of research that I had to do to find out what to call what I was doing. And so right. I think I'm more whole food plant-based. Every now and again, I might eat some fish, but that's what worked for me. And because of that, I adopted that lifestyle. But I'm glad we're having this conversation because I did get to a stagnant point. And so now I'm having to ramp up in whatever area you tell me to ramp up in order to get to that next level, because I still have weight to lose. And my next appointment is next month, either next month or March. And I need to be off the table with him, trying to give me medication for cholesterol.
Right. Well, I find that one of the things, again, as a coach, you have to tell me what you want to do and then I coach you through it. However, because I feel like, there's so many times you do go to people and they want to tell you what to do. And what works for you, again, what we said may not work for everyone else. And I think another thing that people sometimes make I shouldn't say mistake, or they feel like they get on one thing and that's the thing that they do. I find myself that, if I want to go 2 weeks and be plant-based, then I'll do that. If I need to kind of, I switch it up different at different times in my life. Even with my intermittent fasting, I do range from going from having a 16-hour window till the other day I did a 23-hour window, because I just really felt like and I do incorporate mine with spirituality. I wanted to prepare myself for this call. And so I had to just take some stuff out of my system. I think if we get used to listening to our bodies will tell us what we need and what we don't need. I think there is, it is definitely the science behind, we need to limit our sugar. We need to limit our salt. There is some common sense things that we need to do. The sodas and different things that is preventing us from being our optimum. We need to definitely just, if not eliminate that, we need to, just monitor it. Sometimes it's not about, getting rid of things from 100%. But it's about just making sure you do it in moderation. But ask your body, just take time to get still. Ask your body, what is it that you want and need? What is it that you're lacking? And allow your body to speak to you. And it will, if that thought that says, oh, I've been having too much pop. Well, that's your body telling you need to stop drinking the pop. Or, if it says, that meat feels so heavy. Well, maybe you need to, go to chicken, or maybe you need to say, I'm going to incorporate maybe meatless Mondays. But it's about that. I think we have to get quiet enough to listen to our body and be receptive to what it's telling us, instead of just pushing it. Oh, no, that ain't me. Well, could be.
Yeah. Because what I noticed during the journey is when I'm stressed, that's when I eat junk. And my junk was ice cream. And when I recognized that, I'm like, oh, wow, why? Then I started to ask myself, why am I stressed? Sometimes it was sleep deprived or whatever, but I found out I was an emotional eater. And so I'm glad you said that not be so strict with yourself to the point where it feels like it's not realistic. And also, if you know that you're an emotional eater, prepare for that by having more carrots, celery, more health conscious food to be able to snack on. That although you need to snack because that's important to you right then, you're not snacking on the salty, the sugars, the sweets, the cookies, the cakes, but you're eating carrots, you're eating celery. I started making myself this charcuterie mini board. And so I may do cheeses. I like olives. And so I looked at different things to say, if I'm going to eat, what healthy choices can I make? If you like ice cream, maybe you should look at, yogurt bars or a healthy option. I seen this recipe the other day. They took yogurt and honey and fruits, and basically you just freeze it. And so you're eating healthy options, eating an apple. That may be an option. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've when I went whole food plant-based, I had to find some alternatives. And so that was a fun journey. And so finding how you can make ice cream and eat cheese and cheese that I could make out of potatoes and onions and carrots, it was mind boggling. But I enjoyed that.
Well, I also think that, one of the things when I was a vegetarian, I made a decision every 2 weeks when I got paid, I went to Whole Foods and I would try something differently, because we have a tendency to eat what we've always been eating. And just to give you an example of the apple, don't buy the same apple. There's Delicious, there's McIntosh, there's Honeycrisp. There's so many different things out there. Sarah said there's dry apricots, there's all the dried fruits. And so there's a lot of things that you can try within a different category. So again, if you're going to eat an apple, don't always go to Red Delicious. Get a Granny Smith, get a Gala, get a, I just started eating the Honeycrisp, and I think it's the best apple ever. I'm like, where have they been? My sister said, told you they was good. So try different things. Peanut butters, instead of doing peanut butter, use sunflower butter, almond butter. So, I just really maybe expand your horizons within a category, and you'll find that, it's amazing.
So let's move on to your next framework, which is social. Talk about shedding the weight in social.
Well, I think two things. It's a double-edged sword. There's social, to where sometimes we isolate ourselves and no man's an island, so we have no exterior connections. And I think, we feed off of people. You need to have people to grow and develop. And so we need to build relationships with friends, family, even your coworkers, positive, inspirational relationships. And so you look at your social relationships and ask yourself, what type of relationship is this? And how is it feeding my spirit? Or how is it feeding me as a person? But then you also look at yourself and say, what relationships do I have currently that are not working for me? Because I was friends with them in high school doesn't mean that I'm going to be friends with them now. And even because they're family doesn't mean that I have to have them in my inner circle. You want to make sure that you have people in your life that feed you spiritually, emotionally, that they are a positive inspiration. So I encourage people to kind of look at their life and say, who's in your life? And why are they in your life? What value are they adding to you, and what value are you adding to them? Because it is a give and take. You have to be able to give and to receive. And it needs to, and sometimes it's not 50-50, but it cannot always be. You can't be doing all the giving, and you can't be doing all the taking. You have to have a balance to where you both are giving and taking to each other, that you have something in common. I share with my sister. I have different friends for different reasons. Like if I want to go shopping, I would call my shopping buddy. If I want to go exercise, I have an exercising buddy. So I have different people that perform different things in my life that, allows me to grow and develop at different levels. And so I'm not going to ask my older sister, Sheila, to go work out with me. That's not her thing. But Stephanie, she'll get on the bike. My younger sister, Stephanie, will go bike riding, Right. So the social aspect is having satisfying relationships that feed you and take you to the next level.
And I'm glad you said that, because once upon a time, I used to have people who would call me first thing in the morning with their problems. They only talked to me when they wanted to dump on me. I noticed that started to set the tone for my day. And I was before noon, I was depleted. And then when I would call them for anything, it didn't have to be anything major. They were nowhere to be found. Mm-hmm. And I've also been in touch with people who have said, well, I can't let go of this relationship because we've been friends since middle school or high school or whatever. And so a lot of people put stock into the time that they have invested with an individual instead of looking at how that relationship is not benefiting them.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, I said previously that I was previously married. In my first marriage, I had to make a decision in that relationship that we were not on the same path. And, I could have held on because I was married and didn't want to be a divorced person and didn't want to do all these, either be the first one. I have two sisters, be the only one divorced, or because maybe my spiritual relationship, not wanting to get a divorce. I could have stayed stuck. Mm-hmm. But, what I said was, this relationship is not working for him, nor was it working for me. And in order for me to be the person that I needed to be able to move on. And, I was very, very fortunate. My ex-husband, we did not divorce bitter.
Great.
It wasn't, actually we got divorced in 5 days. Yeah. It was, but you know what? We made a decision that it wasn't working. And there were some other circumstances that caused that break, but I wasn't bitter. And because I wasn't bitter, I was able to move on with my life. I have friends that, to be honest, 10, 15 years later, they're still stuck on the ex. Let it go. You cannot, those are emotional ties that I encourage people. If you decide to move on, truly move on. Ask yourself, Is it working? If it is working, or put in the work. You know, sometimes it's a matter of saying, you know what, it's not working, but because I value this at such a level, I'm going to put in the work and get a commitment from that other person to put in the work and to help you take the relationship to a next level. But if only one person's working, or if only one person wants it, or if it's a cancer that is feeding negativity, knock the dust off your feet and move on.
Right.
My gospel.
Right. And but you know, hindsight, I had to ask myself this question, and I asked other people this question too. You're so burdened down by the abuse of the relationship, but you're at the same time having a hard time letting go. If you ask yourself, what am I benefiting by staying here? It seems like it would make it easier for you to let go when all you could think of, if you did a pros and cons list and that cons list was twice as long as the pros list, then why? Why?
Well, I think why, Veronica, comfort. I mean, it sometimes it's better the devil that you know than the devil you don't know. True. I think people don't want to be alone, and it's not only it's just with people, but even jobs. We find ourselves in situations and we're there and we've been there, but because it's comfortable, and for whatever reasons, that comfort causes us to stay. And so you have to, I think that's a part of that whole shedding the weight concept. Ask yourself, how comfortable is this? How discomfort do I want to be to stay in this situation? Because if it was easy to let go, everybody would be letting go. Right. But it's not. It's hard to step outside what is comfortable or familiar. Mm-hmm. And that's what, I want people to know. I guess through my story, this is hard. What we're doing right now is not easy. We're putting ourselves out there. We're trying something new, and we could fail. Somebody, what the heck are y'all doing? We don't know. Oh, you know what?
But we're doing it anyway.
Let's see if it works. But everybody's not willing to expose themselves. Right. And whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, or whether it's even weight, it's easier to sit back and say, I'm gonna, than to do. And I think.
But we're going to move on to the next item, which is spiritual, shedding the weight spiritually. Talk about that.
Well, and spiritual is different things to different people. Now, my background, I was raised in a Church of God in Christ. And so I had a lot of rules and regulations because of that, because of Church of God in Christ, because of their doctrine. And I found myself, as I grew up as an adult, I couldn't understand a lot of the rules. I mean, why can't I wear pants? Why can't I wear makeup? And I'm not saying that it's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that those things are wrong. But what I am saying, it wasn't right for me. And so what I had to do is I had began to get still and find my purpose in what I needed to identify my God to be. And so when I talk about spiritual, I'm not talking about a religion. I'm talking about a stillness, a quietness, getting into you. Mm-hmm. So for me, my spiritualness, I made a commitment this year, or actually in 2020. I pray every morning. I have and I'm not on my knees. I'm not a meditative state for a long time, but I get up. The first thing I do when I wake up, I get my Bible app and I go through a Bible study, sometimes 10 or 15 minutes. But my spiritualness is me being quiet, me being still, and connecting to something that's greater than myself. It's building a relationship with what I call God and who I call God to be. And so I want to get still enough to listen. And so I encourage people as I coach them, what is spiritual? Sometimes spiritual is getting out in nature. Sometimes spiritual is meditation. Sometimes spiritual is, you define your spirituality, and then you allow, and in that definition of your spiritualness, your beingness, is it truly feeding your spirit? Is it something that you're connecting to that's giving you inspiration to be better than you were yesterday? Mm-hmm. And that's what I encourage you to do. what is your spiritual connection? How is it making you better than you were yesterday? Not what someone, don't do what someone tell you to do. Don't read what someone tell you to read. But what are you doing that your spirit is telling you to do to help take you to a higher level and to connect you to your purpose?
Let's go to environmental.
Okay, now this has been fun because, one of my other thing that I'm into, I would love to be a minimalist. Well, I'm working on it. I moved from the home that I lived in was almost 3,000 square feet home. It was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, huge home. Well, huge is relative, but it was a 3,000 square feet for 2 people. Was a nice size home. And then when I got married to my second husband, Richard, we downgraded to I think we had about 1,300 square feet. It was still 3 bedrooms, but it was a smaller scale. It was bath and a half. And then when one of the requirements that I came here, I told him, I said, I truly want to live at a minimum level. And so I live in, you can't see portion of it, but I just basically live in a one room, kind of like what would be a studio. Mm-hmm. Less than, I think I'm about at 700 square feet, 700, 800 square feet. And I love it. And so my journey, or what I encourage the environmental piece is, what are you doing to help Mother Earth? I started going through things in my life and started being more conscious of, I try to do a stainless steel, in cups instead of, always using the plastic or styrofoam. I got stainless steel cups. I started looking at every aspect of my life and asking myself, what can I convert that's going to help the earth? A razor, using the soaps that I use, just using as much all natural stuff as I can. And where this started, and this is how I want people just to really look back and to listen to the or reflect on the seeds that were planted in their life. I started this journey, or got a seed planted probably, I would say about 20 years ago. I met this young lady and she had 5 pair of pants and 5 shirts. That was it. And I was so intrigued. And I'm like, I want to do that. And 20 years later, I'm still trying to get down to 5 pair of pants and 5 shirts. But from an environmental standpoint, that's where I want to go. I do a lot of, I subscribe to a lot of YouTubes of Tiny Living, the Minimalist channel. So that is probably one of my core initiatives, is to be a minimalist. Again, I mentioned the intermittent fasting. So I look at myself and say, within these areas, what is your end game? And my end game for an environment is to look at everything that I'm using and I'm doing. How is it protecting the environment? How can, if I have children, what can I do to help leave this world to them better than I left it? Eating clean. That's a part of the environment because, I got 5 acres. I had a garden. In my first year I was here, my garden was horrible. Mm-hmm. Last year I got a little bit more stuff. And so, each year I want to do more to, have to help the environment, to live off the land, as much as I can. I tell you, we got the extremists that I'm really gung-ho. But I think everything that we do, if we all just do something, to help the environment, I think that's important. Whether it's not using plastic, I'm trying very hard not to use plastic bags, take my reusable bags, living small and not buying clothes, just be buying the latest and greatest. My hair is natural. And so the environment is just that. How is your environment healthy? How is it feeding you, the air that you're breathing, the food that you're eating? How is that bringing you to the next level? So from a shedding the weight standpoint, I'll share the different things that I've done and the different products that I've used, and how those little things are making a difference, going from paper towels to linen napkins. We have 4 forks, to my husband, it's just 2 of us. 4 forks. If 3 of them are dirty, somebody got to wash your fork before they on the fork.
Right.
I switched over from I have no glasses. I have mason jars. So that jar is I drink out of that jar. I store out of that jar. I can out of that jar instead of having all of the glasses and the stemware. I do have a wine glass because I do like drinking wine out of a wine glass. So I got a wine glass. So, but that's what the environment's all about. It's about protecting the environment from hazardous waste or unnecessary usage just because we just want it. Yeah.
When I heard I don't remember the exact title, but it was the podcast you did on decluttering. When I heard that podcast, I was driving and I literally was shouting in the car because I really didn't think of it from an environmental standpoint. But over the past year, I had to relocate. I sold a home and relocated to caregive. Coming from a home to a small apartment was a rude awakening. It made me sift through the things that I had and realize that a lot of stuff I didn't even need. Roxanne, when I was packing, I found that there were several things I had that I bought and had stored in the garage or in the attic. And as I was packing, I ran across a second of the same item, and neither one of them I had opened and used. It was awful. It was horrible. I gave a lot of stuff away. I didn't even try to sell the stuff because it was just too much. And I realized after packing and giving away stuff that the reason why I felt so chaotic was because things were cluttered. And it wasn't that it was junky. Everything had its place. Even stuff that I didn't see, like the stuff that was in the attic or in the garage. I think just because it was in my space, I was cluttered.
Right.
And when I got rid of that stuff, I said, now, and I said, if I have stuff that I haven't used in the past 2 weeks, it's out of here. Because if I'm not using it, I didn't need it in the first place. And then when I looked at the amount of stuff that I gave away, I almost shed a tear for just thinking about the amount of money I spent on stuff that I didn't need, stuff that I don't have now. And it was awful. It was awful.
It's absolutely. We do find that we have a lot. I mean, I felt the same. I had the same experience. And a lot of times when you do have a lot of space, what happens is that stuff may be put up and you don't realize how much you're accumulating. But one of the things I also found as I was going through my stuff, we have, in my belief system, soul ties.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes old stuff would trigger some memories that you really want to let go of. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me, when I began to declutter and let go of some things, I was able to shed the weight of some of my past that I didn't even realize I was holding on to. I mean, old jobs or positions that I, for whatever reasons it didn't go, and I still had documentation. That's a part of me.
Right.
And, I just had to have a burning ceremony and let go of those things, relationships. Or, you held something, you bought it when you was with Tukey. Well, you know what? You can't put that on and not remember where you got it. It brings back all. So let some of that go. That's part of that energy. I think we do not absolutely connect with. We don't realize that a part of us, no matter whatever we touch, Veronica, wherever we are, a part of us is there.
Mm-hmm.
Our spirit and connection is there. And so you have to begin to look at those things and say, I need to break the tie of things that no longer are serving me.
Right.
And if it means getting rid of, I don't care if it's a couch or a chair, if that thing brings about a negative experience, let it go.
Exactly.
Walk away from a house. You can get a house again, but you can't get you back.
Right.
And
right.
Sometimes we hold on to the thing, but I paid so much money for it, or let it go.
Yeah. I was going through stuff and realized I had pictures from 20, 30 years ago. And I'm like, what?
Right.
Like you said, burning ceremony. I threw all that stuff away. I didn't even realize I still had, but we lugged this stuff around from house to house to house or apartment to apartment and not realizing that energy is in the room. And I honestly believe that too.
Yes. Oh, even though this way, you know what? I am not going to be 105 pounds again. No,
right.
I think, you know what? We have to get to the point to where there's some things we hold on for memories or families or whatever. But if you're the type of person who can't put it in perspective, then I think you need to let go. But if you are holding on to a picture of where you were 5 years ago and you're only because you were 105 pounds, then you know what? That's not for you. You need to let it go.
Right. Let's go to emotional.
And you know, I think the emotional part of it is having a positive self-esteem. It's having, you know, believing who you are is worth it.
Right.
Because sometimes, you know what, people don't value us because we don't value us. Right. And what we have to do, the weight of being in a position to where we don't have value for who we are. See, emotionally, I am trying to honor who I am as a person. And everybody's not going to like me. And I got to be okay with that. You know what? I have to be okay with the fact that I am not going to be everybody's best friend. And everybody's not going to be my best friend. Mm-hmm. You know, it's going to take a unique person to like Roxanne because my part of my personality is truth. Mm-hmm. And a part of my gift is seeing truth. Mm-hmm. I can see it. And so, you know, maturity over the years has allowed me not to everything I see to share. But before, there was a time in my life that I shared everything that I've seen because that was a gift that God had given me. Mm-hmm. And from an emotional standpoint, I was always apologizing, crying because nobody liked me, because sometimes people don't want to be told who they are. And it really is not our story to tell anyway. And so, you know, a lot of that was my maturity, but the emotional part of shedding the weight is really liking you. What do you like about Roxanne? What do you like about me? You know, I was reading a couple of days ago about the negative self-talk that we have. Even like, you know, oh, my hair is a mess. That's negative. Oh, I need to, my face or my makeup or my nails are not long or my this, you know. And so we emotionally, I have to say, you know what? Yes, I would like to lose 30 pounds. However, right now, I'm happy with the progress that I'm making. Right. I'm happy with every day I'm making healthy decisions to go to be at a healthier point in my life. I have to be able to say in the relationship I'm in, I love my husband, but you know what? I can't make you happy, nor do I want you to make me happy. I can be happy in the relationship, but my happiness, you're not the source of my happiness. Right. My job, emotionally, I like going to work. I like getting paid today. However, emotionally, I am not going to be so afraid to where this no longer serves me. I can't walk away because I have to value myself enough to say, if this job is not for me, there's another job out there that is. And I have value in who I am to be able to go somewhere else and somebody's going to want me. I say this because I hope my ex-husband ain't listening to this because he said this to me. And again, we have a very good relationship now. But he made a statement to me when we were doing that argument at times. You're never going to find anybody that's going to put up with you. Your own family don't put up with you. Oh. And you know what my response was? We'll see. Right. Because I'm tired of him. And he had to go. You hear me? I said, you know what? We're just going to see, because if I got to be put up with you or be alone, I'm just going to be being alone. You know? Right. So, don't let me get out of country. But, you know, we have to say, you just have to say, you know what? We'll see. Right. I'm worth more than that. So emotionally, Veronica. Oh, yeah. We're worth more than that. Right. So that's what the emotion portion. And I want to work with, you know, people that, you know, let's get you to the point where you can say, I'm worth more than that. Mm-hmm. I value who I am. I value what I have to say. I value what I do. You know, those things don't define me, but I still find value in who I am as an individual. I'm here today because God still feels I have a reason and purpose to be here. And if he feels I have a reason and purpose to be here, I need to feel that I have a reason and purpose to be here.
Let's talk about the last piece, which is financial, with shedding the weight financially.
Money is a big, I've always been very, very good with money. And from a standpoint, well, I would say this, my business did, when I had my courage, it took a lot of my money. However, I am not a spender in a sense of, I'm not I like nice things, but I've always been a person that believes that you don't spend more than you have. Right. I've always been a person to save. And for me, my inner dialogue says that I want to be able to get something, be able to, if I want it, I want to be able to afford it, not to, someone say to me, oh, you can't have that. And so I've always saved not to get things, but if I wanted to, I could get. I want to be able to, if Corona happened and they shut my company down, I need to be able to live beyond a month.
Right.
It's hard right now. A lot of people are suffering. They're losing their homes and they're losing a lot of things. And a lot of it's because we've lived beyond our means. Mm-hmm. You have to ask yourself, can I afford this? Mm-hmm. Is this a want or a need? I want to make sure all of my needs are taken care of. My needs is a roof over my head. I make sure that, I have a good car to drive. Now, thank God I've driven a Mercedes. I've had several Mercedes, but right now I have a Soul, the Kia Soul. I love that car. I got the green Kia Soul and I love it.
Yeah.
Because you know what? When I went to before in my life, making $700 car payments was no big deal. Mm-hmm. I am not going to make no $700 car payment right now in my life.
Right.
I'm 58 years old.
Right.
I told that guy, I told the dealer, I want a $200 car payment. And so in order to do that, I had to drive within a $200 budget. And that was a Kia Soul. And I'm happy with the mug because you know what? My car's paid for.
Right. Right.
And so I encourage people to, bondage is bills. And so I encourage you to be debt free. I encourage you to look at your budget and say needs versus wants. Mm-hmm. And you ask yourself, what is it that you need versus what you want? What can you eliminate? Do you really need to eat out every day? Do you really need? Me and my husband, we have date night once every 2 weeks. And we don't have children, and we can afford to go out. But it's like, no, you get to go eat out. Listen, you eat out once every 2 weeks. Now with Corona, we eat at home, but it's like usually every 2 weeks because that's when I get paid. But one of them is I'm cooking. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes. I ask myself, do I really need it? We don't want to buy a book, but we will go out and eat. Go to McDonald's. You are dropping $10 in McDonald's, but you don't want to spend $14 a month on Audible to listen to, something that's going to feed you, Roxanne. I'm saying, I'm like, I'm not spending no $14 a month on no dang on Audible. But I don't want to go 3 times that week. Yeah.
It's our priorities, our perspective and our priorities.
It really, truly is. And so my goal for me, and one of the things I want to share is to live debt free. When Rick and I got married, he had a home and I have a home and I had a home. So we had 2 homes. We've sold one. And we're renting out the other one. And so it is rent, it is income. And so I feel good. But other than that, we don't have debt. And Lord, let me tell you something. I'm an overshare here. Let me tell you this. Sometimes people say they don't want to move home. I done moved home and my daddy is doing right by me. See, I don't have this big mortgage.
Right.
I let me tell you something. I live in this place. We're paying less than $200 a month. Thank the Lord. And it's a blessing. Mm-hmm. It truly is a blessing. My parents have the land. They have the means to we're helping each other. But can you imagine this day and time only paying $200 a month?
Right. I agree. But some people would have looked at moving back home to care for parents as a death sentence instead of looking at the blessing that comes with it. Now you have a $200 rent, whatever that difference was from that rent to your mortgage. What are you doing with that pot of money? You could be paying off debt. If you have the debt, you could be putting it in savings. It's not a time to splurge.
Right. I don't have a car payment because of the opportunity, because of the situation I'm in. We don't have credit cards. So here are the things I ask people. And again, I tell people I'm not bragging, but my podcast is about my story. And it's about my story to help you to be encouraged. I don't have a car payment. I don't have credit card debt. I don't do a lot of, buying a lot of clothes. There's nothing wrong with it, but you know what? We need to set the priority. What's more important? I say this and I don't want to offend anyone, but as Christmas time was going around, people were on TV, they were talking about COVID and how hard it was, and they couldn't get their kids Christmas presents and rent. Well, to me, buying presents and paying rent.
Yeah.
I do feel like because what happens is we are in such instant gratification. We think we have to buy our way out of things or buy our way into things like relationships. Mm-hmm. And we use those things as way to satisfy a need that will never get satisfied. Right. Spend time with your children. You know what? Right now, I'm spending no amount of money could replace the amount of time I'm spending with my parents. Right. I love the time that I'm spending. So, and I can do that because I'm not in bondage. And so I ask people, do you have a budget? Are you saving? What are you spending your money on? I think that's what the whole spending is. And so I looked at these categories that I went through and I asked myself, what could cause stress and additional weight? And so my categories are 6 categories, and there's more categories in the whole wellness sphere, or more dimensions. But I said, let me look at the things that have caused me stress and weight. And the way I did my the 6 categories, I kind of isolated certain words within each, like within physical, social, spiritual, environmental, emotional, and spending. I have it spell out, I love me, because that's what all of this is doing for me. I want to love me. And how I love me, I look at the way I spend. I look at how my emotionalness. I look at my physicalness. I look at the people that I'm hanging around with. I look at my environment. And those dimensions, those 6 dimensions, need to connect with my values. And what they need to do is it has an expression of me loving me. It should be an outward view of how I'm loving myself. I'm loving myself enough that I'm taking time for myself.
You're so easy to talk to, and I just love you. You make me laugh, and you just brighten my day.
Well, I tell you what, in my mind, I've been thinking, because I do plan ahead. I'm like, okay, Lord, if we get this COVID over here, I'm going to see Veronica, because I just know there's a connection, Lord. I just cannot wait to be able to sit and have a sandwich or drink a tea or whatever, because I just believe that God has just done. This is not an accident. And so right. I've been so encouraged by you. I've encouraged what you're doing. You motivate me to be a better person. So I appreciate you taking the opportunity to have me on the show.
Tell everyone how they can reach you.
I'm on Facebook. I do have a group, Shedding the Weight, on Apple. It's on Google. It's on Spotify, Anchor, and it's Shedding the Weight. I'm on Instagram, but my Instagram handle is Shedding the Weight Podcast. I'm on Pinterest. So Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and I do have a website. My website is sheddingtheweightpodcast.com.
So I want to thank you for tuning in to the I Am Transformed show, where we interview real people with real life transformations. The goal is to educate, inspire, and empower you to your next level, because we have kingdom work to do.